Continuing our lesson on relations, I want to explore mapping just a little bit more. I mentioned that mapping is a way to show how elements from the domain are paired with elements in the range. And I used some terms interchangeably. My X terms are my domain and my input values, and my Y values are my range and my output values. And when we see them in this mapping setup, we're going to see arrows going from the X terms to the Y terms, from the domain to the range. And they're pairing off, and they give us these ordered pairs. And I illustrated two in our last class. So let's name the ordered pairs. Well, they're right here on the side. The ordered pairs are 0, 3, because 0 goes to 3, followed by 2 is to 5, and 4 is to 7. In the second one, I have 1 and 16, 2 and 16, and 3 and 17. I'm running out of space. Let me rewrite this. Sorry. 2 and 16, and 3 and 17. Now they might ask you just to list the domain. Well, domain are my X values, so if I had to list the domain, I would say that those values are 0, 2, and 4 in this first mapping. If they asked me to list the range values, I would be looking at 3, 5, and 7. Same on the second one. If they wanted my domain, those are my input values or my X values. That would be 1, 2, and 3. My range would be the output or Y values, and that's 16 and 17. You only write each term once. In this activity, we're going to be looking at representing relations as ordered pairs as in a table, in mapping, and a graph. In tonight's assignment, you're going to see that they're asking you to do all of these methods of representation. So they're going to give you the ordered pairs, most likely. If they give you the ordered pairs, again, I've put this as X's and Y's. So this will be my input of 1, output of 2, input of -2, output of 4, and 0 to -3. I would then go ahead and write these in my mapping. And when you write them in the mapping, again, you're going to show one going to the other. And then you're going to graph them. So I want you to take a look now and see if you can complete that. We're going to go through this process together. And then we're going to look at maybe a second example. And then you'll, like I said, you'll do a little practice on this tonight. So if I'm looking at this, they're asking me again to list my X values, which I will call my domain or my input values. And I'm going to look at this mapping and I'll see that 1 goes to 2, -2 will go to 4, and 0 to -3. In regards to a graph, you can just do a rough sketch. You don't need graph paper to do a rough sketch of this. You'll go over 1 and up 2. That's 1 point. You'll go to the left, -2, and up 1, 2. I'm sorry, whoops. Let me fix that. No point there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I've got 0, -3, 1, 2, 3. So now that's the graph representation. If they ask you to list your domain, it's your X values, 1, -2, and 0. If they ask us to name our range or our Y values or our output, we're going to name 2, 4, and -3. So they're just asking us to represent relations, numbers that are somehow related to each other. In another section, we'll be completing a function table with a rule, and we're going to call those functions. Actually, we're going to be given an equation. But these are just numbers that don't necessarily have a rule to establish between them. They're just somehow connected to each other. Again, these are the key words that I've been using. My X terms are my input and my domain. You should know these words without hesitation. They're also called my independent variable. Why? Because I can choose any value for X when I start to get into a function. Output Y values range, and when we talk about a function, the Y will depend on the X. We'll get to that next week. So let's just take another look at this. These are representations in mapping form. If they ask you to write them as ordered pairs, again, many times they give you ordered pairs first. But you could easily write one representation to another. You could actually, if you wanted to, take this and put this into a table. By putting this into a table, you can write the words input output. Most of the times I'll put X and Y. I'll then write my X's, which are the first of the two numbers. It'll be 3, 5, and 7. That's my domain. My range are my Y values. So I'm going to be using these words and sharing with you each time what the names are and how they interchange. Let's just do one more. My ordered pairs here are 9 and 20. And I have 10 and 20, and I have 11 and 20. That's the mapping of it. Now if I put it in table form, I'll have my X's and Y's. I'll have my domain, my 9, 10, and 11, and I'll have my Y value is the same for all of these. And we'll do these next two in class. So right now I'm doing three of the representations, the mapping, the ordered pairs, and the table. The graphing we'll practice in class. So until then, have a good day.